Hi, how to solve problems of block on block easily. This video addresses that question. I'm Kaustuban from Physics Models. It gives me great pleasure to present you with animations as well as a small experiment. This you can do it yourself. Put any block on a block and move it. Please do take a look at my websites for content and tests. We now go to the problem. Block of 5 kg is placed on top of another block of 10 kg mass. The coefficient of static friction is given between the two blocks and between the lower block and the ground. The coefficient of kinetic friction is of course different, but it is assumed as same in the first three cases, and for the case number 4 the value is given specifically. In this still from my video, you can see that the force applied on the upper block is shown as a white arrow and the resisting forces of friction are shown as red arrows. The force applied on the upper block sets up static friction between the upper and lower block. The moment the upper block starts sliding with respect to the lower block, only then kinetic friction comes into play. Similarly, for the lower block, till the lower block starts moving, static friction is in play. I want to present the naming convention which I request you to follow so that you can solve all kinds of problems of block on block equally easily. The upper block, I've called it as small m, the lower block as capital M. Accordingly, all the frictional forces have subscript of small m or capital M. The external applied force is named F_ap and the net force is named as F_net. The common acceleration as A common, and so on. We now draw the free body diagrams of the forces that are acting on these blocks, and I would like you to become an expert on free body diagrams. In these diagrams, we capture the forces that are acting. On the left hand side, inside the orange dotted line, the upper block and the lower block are moving together without any relative sliding between them, if that happens. On the right hand side, we draw the FBDs of the upper and lower block separately. The green arrow is the applied force on the upper block, and what's resisting that is the frictional force shown as the pink arrow that's acting between the upper and lower block. For the lower block, the forward acting force is the pull force of the upper block, which is dragging the lower block forwards. And what's resisting that is the red arrow, which is the frictional force acting between the lower block and the ground. The important starting point is to put the normal forces correctly. On the upper block, the normal force N small m is nothing but the weight of the mass m. On the lower block, however, the normal reaction is m plus m into g because the combined weight of the two blocks is acting on the ground. Now we solve for case 1. We have to find the maximum applied force for which the lower block is about to slide. Always we have to remember that about to slide means it is not already sliding. That's obvious. But in physics, that means that only static friction is resisting the motion of the block forwards. So the free body diagram becomes simple. The F_ap is exactly equal to the resisting force of static friction. So that's Fs small m between the upper block and the lower block. Now, because the F is exactly equal to the resisting force, the net force is 0. And therefore, we can find F as mu static friction into mg, that's 0.2 into 5 into 10, that's 10 Newton. We have to remember that if the applied force increases even slightly above 10 newtons, the upper block will start moving. It should. The net force equal to 0 means that F net is equal to mass into acceleration as per Newton's second law. Therefore, the acceleration is also equal to 0. The upper block, therefore, is stationary, and this makes sense. We now draw the FBD for the lower block, where the forward pulling force, that pink arrow, is Fs small m, the static friction force coming from the upper block. The rearward resisting force, shown by the red arrow, has a maximum limiting value of 75 newtons. But here, does 75 newton get applied? No. If that were so, then the block would be moving backwards, which is not correct. The property of static friction is that it adjusts to the applied force till the limiting value is reached. Here, the applied force on the lower block is Fs small m, which is 10 newtons. So the rearward resisting force of static friction also increases from 0 to 10 newtons and stops there. Therefore, the net force on the lower block is equal to 0. So its acceleration is also 0. Hence, the acceleration of the upper and lower blocks both are 0. Therefore, we can say that the common acceleration is equal to 0, and the maximum applied force for the lower block about to slide is 10 newtons. We now come to case 2, where the condition is that there should be no relative sliding between the blocks, which means the upper block should not slide on the lower block. We know that if the applied force F is greater than the rearward static friction force Fs small m, then the upper block will start sliding. So the maximum value of F is 10 newtons to achieve no sliding between the blocks. Coming to FBD of the lower block, once again, the forward force acting on it is the Fs small m, which is 10 newtons, which is much smaller than the maximum rearward limiting force of static friction between lower block and the ground, 75 newtons. Therefore, the lower block in its FBD can never slide forward on the ground. That means it's stationary. Hence, in this case also, there is a common acceleration A common equal to 0 meters per second square. We now come to case 3, where the applied force is smaller than the maximum applied force of case 2 for having no relative sliding. So, if the forward force is only 7 Newton, the rearward resisting force of static friction also adjusts itself to 7 newtons because it has not reached its maximum capacity. Therefore, the net force on the upper block is 0. Therefore, the acceleration of the upper block is also equal to 0. Draw the FBD of the lower block. The forward pulling force on the lower block coming from the upper block is nothing but the FSM, which is 7 newtons. And we know by now that at the ground, the rearward resisting force of static friction adjusts itself to this 7 Newton because its capacity has not been reached. Therefore, the F net for the lower block is also equal to 0. And we can say that the common acceleration of the two blocks is equal to 0. We now solve case 4, where the applied force is very high, much higher than the rearward resisting force of static friction. Therefore, we can safely say that the upper block will be sliding. Therefore, kinetic friction must be working here and not static friction. Putting that, we get the force of kinetic friction equal to mu km into mg, that's 5 newtons. You can see that the 5 newtons is much smaller than the force of static friction. The net force is the forward force minus the rearward force. Therefore, it's 95 newtons. Applying Newton's second law, the net force is equal to mass into acceleration. Here, the acceleration of the upper block only. And we get the acceleration of the upper block as 19 meters per second square. Is this the acceleration of the lower block as well? Certainly not. We now go to the FBD of the lower block, where the forward force acting on the lower block is nothing but the force of kinetic friction from the upper block. The rearward resisting force, static friction, between the lower block and the ground still remains as high as 75 newtons. Therefore, in the FBD of the lower block, we can see that it will not be able to move forward on the ground at all, and hence it's absolutely stationary, and the acceleration of the lower block, A capital M, is 0 meters per second square. This is what exactly happened in the small experiment that I did, where I put a mouse on a block and moved the mouse forward with the force, and it slipped on the lower block. The lower block did not move on the table at all. You can try it yourself.